Hey, what's up? It's your boy Joe Mill here, back with Killer Miller Q. It is a hot day, and with that said, we got a barbecue experiment. I got my Lone Star grill already fired up. We're gonna be doing a pork palooza, okay? Whole lot of pork. With that said, I gotta get this thing ready for a party. We're getting the first time I'm gonna put water in here. We're gonna run it as a water cooker. Let's see how it works out on this hot day. Come on. Alright, so we're gonna start this cook off inside in the womb where the magic is about to happen for today's experiment. This is a special cook, and I know I always tell you that, but we always got something going on. This one here, I'm actually gonna be cooking for a birthday party for a special young man that plays soccer with my daughter. So this is an experiment, but this cook has to come out right. So for what it's worth, I'm gonna control the control, and I'll make sure I do my thing. As you can see, I'm showing you the inside for one reason and one reason only. One, it was dirty. I've been doing a lot of cooks, and I don't clean this Lone Star as far as the deep clean out all the time. So I was due, I had some pools of that grease and everything to get up out of here, but draining hole was nice and easy. Was able to open that thing up pretty easy and scrape everything out. The only reason I wanted to make sure too was I didn't want to just add water on top of all this old grease and everything. I didn't know what kind of taste and flavors and smoke that might give off. So for what it's worth, I'm gonna try to start with a respectfully clean surface. Also took a little bit of time to scrape it down a little bit. I think also thinking about that moisture might loosen up some of these flakes, and you might get more stuff dripping. So one way or another, once I get this thing kind of going, I'm gonna give it maybe a little extra time just to get itself up and going, since I've never personally put water inside of the chamber. So one thing that I am curious about for all my LSG fam that do use the water in the tank, I'm curious, does this bottom start to get rusted out? I can see myself when I do drain this water out, maybe giving it a quick respray of the PAM. Being out here in Arizona, it's always so hot. I'm not worried about this really drying up anytime soon, or taking too long to dry up rather, and staying damp to maybe get that rust. I'll probably dry up a little faster than most during this summer season, but with that said, I don't want to mess up my baby, and I definitely don't want to have rust on the inside and later on just to think that any of that's going to be getting on my food. So we're going to be spraying that thing out once it's all said and done. We got it cleaned out to start. Let me get my grates and everything back in, and I'm going to get this baby fired up. All right, we got the tuning plates all back up in there. We got my grates all in here, and now you can see, or you can hear, got my water hose just in here pumped in. We are filling this puppy up. You probably don't got the best view, especially with all this brightness out here, and there's nothing to see other than water going in this baby. But I have no idea how much to put in here, but knowing that I got a decent sized cook today, you saw the results. We're gonna be doing a pork butt. I believe that baby's about almost 9 pounds. I'll get a double check on that for you. And we got 3 racks of ribs. So I know for a fact I'm gonna need a decent amount. My whole thing is it's 100 degrees out here, and I want to check this out for the summers. It's gonna be up to 115-ish. We got super dry heat. Hopefully I want to see if I'm gonna get more moisture. Will I still be able to get me a nice good bark that I'm used to, but will I get more moisture in the meats and everything? So that's what I'm looking for. We'll find out. So this is perfect. I get to show y'all a boo-boo. As I was wondering how much water I needed, when I came on this side, I noticed, if you can tell, I had already overflowed. And I kind of get water already down here in my drip pan to catch my ashes. So now I know it don't take that much water. And also now I got something to keep an eye on, is I want to make sure my water level is well below that lip. So a little something so you know, for the people that haven't or just getting a Lone Star, as far as how much water you put in there, next time I'll know. And I won't even get anything close to it, but not a big deal. I already had everything cleaned out. I just emptied this out, take down that water a little bit, and we'll get it fired up. All right, let's open up the tub and see what we got in here as far as the meat for this pork party. We got us a nice pork butt, 8.4 pounds. Took just a little bit of the fat that was off the fat cap off of there. These ribs already had the membrane going. And you know what? Let me take a quick second to give you a nice PSA, a nice public service announcement. Always smell your meat, okay? And what I'm talking about is the meat that you're gonna be putting on that grill. These ribs, when I first got them out the pack, not these ribs, but the ribs I was about to put on, instantly came out with a little bit of a funky smell that I wasn't too comfortable with. Most of the time, trust your nose. While it's raw, you know, it doesn't smell great if you're just gonna go around smelling pork, raw pork, but it should not be funky. If you get an instant funky smell as soon as you open up your package on any of your meats, go ahead and take that back. It don't necessarily mean that you're at a bad place meat market wise or meat store, but easily temperatures could have got wrong in temperature or in travel or something like that, or the meat itself could have just spoiled. So went ahead and had to swap them babies out. Got 3 more racks. Everything is pretty much ready to go. I'm about to season up. We're gonna be keeping this real simple. If you saw our video a couple weeks ago, we're gonna be going right back to that. I got a little mop sauce left. Pretty much you got some of my special 110 for those that know, but basically it's 50% pepper, 40% salt, and then 10% garlic. Okay, so this is my little all-purpose rub, mostly pepper. Should give us some good bark. And then on that pork butt, we're going with Famous Dave's rib rub. Even though we're doing it on the pork butt, it's great on pork, and this one's a great tasting rub. A little salty, so be careful when you're doing it on ribs. But on this pork butt, we got a lot of meat that we got to try to penetrate. Where are my ingredients at? There you go. Even though it says to start with sugar, there is definitely quite a bit of salt in there, but it's got a nice blend of everything in there. It should hit us off nice, and it's got a little bit of color to it as well, if you can kind of see. So let me get everybody seasoned up, get everybody merry. This thing is already packed, so I'm gonna have to probably grab me another tray or something to put this on, but I'll be right back. Okay, meat is done. This is a pork palooza, okay? Got that 110, that Killer Miller that Killer Miller 110 on here. That's salt, pepper, garlic, and then we got that Famous Dave's rib rub on there. Smells great everywhere already. Already got it on my rack. I turned this baby upside down so those little hooks don't be getting stuck and I can easily rotate it. I just like it on this rack because, I mean, as you can already see, there's so much individual connective tissue and all these other working muscles. This thing just starts to fall apart once it really starts to get cooked. So it just helps to keep it all together, keep it a little more centered. So I already kind of packed it and grouped it together. And then also as I want to rotate it and everything, I don't really got to be messing with it too much. I can just rotate the whole rack and it's a lot easier to kind of control it. So this is good. Overall, the grill is already up to temp. We a little pushing high. I usually kind of like going in at 250 or something like that. I'm probably a little closer to 275, which is fine. As soon as I get this cold meat on here, that'll drop down. So these have kind of got a chance to sweat out, and this rub is smelling great, so you can kind of tell that it's ready to go. We're going to the pit. Okay, we got this baby on. Check out that smoke, thin and blue. For me, that's a lot of smoke. I like when I barely even see anything coming out of there. You can at least see a little bit of that wispy smoke, but that's good smoke right there. That's what we want. You can see that temperature slowly starting to creep back up. One of those things that you do notice off of that water is more of a sustained temp, which I can't even imagine because this thing is already steady Freddy. If anything, maybe it'll help me stay in these lower temperatures a little bit easier and not pump up so high on these 100+ degree days. But so far so good. I like that it's staying nice and steady. The one thing I also notice is, check this out, when I open it up, I feel like my smoke is coming up differently. It looks pretty cool the way it's coming up out the grates. Can you see the way that's just kind of overcoating? Normally my smoke don't look like that when it comes out, but I like it. We're gonna see as we kind of work on steaming this meat, I guess, huh? We'll see what the water cooker gonna work like. So pork butt sitting over there, 8.4 pounds on my little rack, as you can see. And then we got our 3 racks of ribs. We're gonna let them chill out, nothing to do for a while. I'll bring y'all back in about an hour or so when I change out wood and stuff. All right, 45 minutes in, there's nothing really to see on the cook. Is this thing on? That's what I'm talking about. One thing that I wanted to bring you back on, because I noticed this super quick, is I'm really just about to check the temp. My temps are definitely lower than normal, man. Normally I'm fighting like hell to get down to 225, and it has stabilized, and I took a picture, it has stabilized and locked in at 250 within like 20 minutes of me just putting the log on and getting it going, which normally, again, never does. I'm gonna kind of take a peek, see what we look like. Okay, so my cadence is still about the same. Let's see if my old, I tell you what, this is hot, so don't do this at home. At this point, I done burnt all these hands up to the point where it don't really matter. You see, putting that log off to the side, as soon as it hit them coals, bam, we got fire. I'm gonna leave this thing open for a while, let that get kicked up real good, and then I'm gonna throw me another log off to the side, and we'll be good to go. So while this is open, I'll take a quick peek just to see what it's looking like on the inside. Obviously, it's not done. But I'm just curious, like, is it drying out more than normal, do I think? Does it seem about the same? I don't know. It's only been 45 minutes. Nothing spectacular. At first I thought it seemed like it was super wet, like a little bit of extra moisture, but I can definitely still start to see, we get too close. I can start to see it starting to dry out like normal, so it seems like I'll still be able to do my normal spritz game and everything else. I still see water down there. Looking at that little edge, it looks like that's getting done a little bit. Pretty much every hour I'm gonna rotate these, so I'm gonna take this one from the furthest back, take it up front, and then scoot these two back a row. See my little blood spot in there, nothing too crazy. So, looking pretty normal. Let me get everything rotated. Maybe I'll get this a flip around as well. See that flame starting to kick up? Bring y'all back. So here we are. Been about almost an hour and 40. A little extra smoke, just threw a log in, so we just kind of catching up. Just rotated all my racks. Color wise, we are looking good. Smell a little different than my normal dry smoke. I can notice it seems like my bottoms are cooking a little bit more than what I normally see. And all I'm looking at is my edges, right? You start seeing those edges turning a little bit more done. Underneath, I mean, they don't look bad or nothing like that, but that's that moisture coming up and kicking up. You know, you can hear that water. It's not necessarily boiling, but you can hear it every now and again. Starting to get a little dried out. I'm gonna come in here at about the 2-hour mark, and then we'll start giving it a little spritz here and there. But this will be looking like 2-hour mark. Kicked me in some more wood, so I'm pumped up to now about 275. Ooh, look at them colors coming through. Look at them colors coming through. I smell it now. This is starting to come together the way I like. Now, one thing I noticed that I don't normally see, and that's maybe from that moisture, you see that little bit of white stuff coming through? It's just kind of cooking through. Color's getting pretty good. Only at the 2-hour mark. We about to go ahead and get our spritz on. You see I rotated that one along with everything else. You see that's starting to dry out a little bit. Not as dry as normal, right? Not as dry as normal, but you can definitely see on these ribs, which are kind of skinny. I mean, they're not that thick, so they also definitely cooking a little bit faster than normal, but I can tell they cooking up a little different. I do see a little bit of sheen on there, but you can kind of see a little bit more moisture. But we got a little bit more of this mop sauce. I'm gonna slide over here that we're gonna be kind of hitting these ribs with. And then I couldn't find my sprayer, so I'm just gonna be using my squirt bottle here. And I just got a 50-50 mix of apple cider vinegar and apple juice that we'll go ahead and spritz the pork butt with. And then we'll let everything keep on going. We'll hopefully get us maybe about another half hour before we flip these ribs, but color's coming along. Okay, I pulled the rack out so you can see everybody before I start losing all my daylight. We got a little wetness. I'm not worrying about rotating these because we just rotated them just about a half hour ago. They only got about maybe, I'm trying to be nice to them since I might end up saucing them just because they might like barbecue sauce. And I want to make sure I don't get them too dark just because I know how I like them. Maybe they want them a little different. Who knows? So I get maybe half an hour in on these before these get flipped. This baby's looking beautiful color-wise. So it's got a long time left. We'll probably end up wrapping this one. 2.5 hours. We kicked up that temp a little bit with that last log. Oh yeah, it's time. Look at my color. Like I've told you before, the first thing when I'm cooking ribs, same thing with this pork butt, same thing when I'm doing briskets. In the beginning, it's all about getting some smoke in here, clean always, and I'm trying to get to the color that I want. Now I got that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Now it's time for me to get ready and flip these babies upside down. I'm gonna give them another rotation and spritz. Make sure I spritz this as well. Give it a rotation. It's got a lot longer to go. Not quite to the color I want, but it's looking good. You see how that's getting dark right there? That's what we want. You get that more or less all over. But we cooking right along. And kick me up a little bit on my temps. I ain't mad at it. At this point, we done got a good solid base of smoke in there. We're gonna go ahead and finish it up and keep it clean. Hey, what's up, team? I want to jump in here real quick, hiding over here in the shade. It is a hot day like I already told you. I appreciate y'all watching this video. If you're new to the channel, go to that bottom right corner, subscribe, make sure that you follow along on all the videos that you missed. And for everybody else, we almost at 2,000 subscribers. We are continue to push this thing forward. I appreciate y'all, and let's get back to the work. Cleaned up, doing the do. All right, we got them flipped over. We got them rotated. Hit them with a little bit of that mop sauce. Look at that color. Look at that color. That's what you want. That nice, beautiful red. Hoping I don't get too dark. We'll see how this works, because I told you I felt like the bottoms was cooking up a little bit, but the bottoms of these bones don't look too bad, so we'll see how they come out. You got some more time, player? All right, it's getting dark out here. I had to bring out some heavy-duty light. We're rolling along. These babies should be ready to rock. 3.5 hours. They've had an hour upside down. Let's see where my color is at. I'm liking this so far. Yes, yes, yes. Look at them drips. Man, I'm telling you, it smells amazing. Woo, them babies hot back there. All right, they coming off. I like it. So far, so good. Hi, baby. Look at that. Remember at first when we was just in here, only had that one corner red? Check it out now. You see that redness is starting to spread throughout. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a spritz, and I'm gonna give this a 180, and you about to get the whole thing to yourself. Dun, 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 dun. Obviously, I didn't waste too much time. As far as usually I give you the overhead view, let you get a chance to actually check out me cutting into them, see what that's like. But with these being for a party tomorrow morning, I try to get all these put to the side, so we're not gonna play in it. All right. With that said, I did have a couple little niblets off the, a couple things that broke off as I was cutting it. I'll wait to the end and give you my final order. But you can see that smoke ring. We looking good. We looking good. Now this one here, only because I didn't cut this the perfect way. I don't want to serve this. You know what I mean? So this one here, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna take this. It's for me. How about that? Just one up. Let's give it out. Oh yeah. Hold on. Hey, that was like 3 bites. Told you it was a small one, right? That ain't got nothing to do with me. Yep, that's gonna be all right. Let me wrap these up. Up and ready to do the do. I got it double foiled over here. It's ready to go. I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit more. Toss this in the fridge. These will be ready. And when we do the warm up, maybe I'll pour just a little bit of water in the bottom just so we can kind of get that steam factor going. Warm these up. It should be able to make the crowd happy. Now we get back to that pork butt over there. 5 hours along. Ribs is out the way. Let's see what's going on over here. I'm liking that. I didn't want to do this thing forever and get it completely black. I'm going to try to label it nice and pretty. And I can't imagine a much better looking color to get it going right there. Let me see kind of where I'm at. You're starting to see that bone starting to protrude a little bit. So that let me know we're getting closer to where I want to be. It's still a little tight up in there. 163. Cool. Which a lot of times when you are wrapping, that's usually like around a solid temperature. Then 165, something like that. By then you've got a good solid amount of smoke in there. You got a good amount of color. We're pretty much good to go. It's been, like I said, 5 hours of smoke, so I ain't mad at it. I'm about to get me wrapped up. I'm gonna leave this on the rack. So that way it doesn't have to sit in too much juice. I'm gonna add just a little bit of apple juice to the bottom, and I'll meet you right back out here at the pit. Simple enough. So threw it directly on this thing, still on the rack. Notice I got a little apple juice in here, and we're not talking about that much. I mean, there you go. Truth of this, I'm in my big pan. It's barely connecting or touching the whole bottom. I know I'm a little off center over here, so I'm sure I'm on like a hill, so you see it all pooling over here on one side compared to over here, but there's really not that much liquid in here. But when we get done, watch how much liquid's gonna be in here. I'm about to wrap this up, throw a probe in here, make sure you don't hit your bone, and then this is also my telltale sign, so that's my thermometer working without a thermometer. When that baby pops up out of there like nobody business, it'll let you know when it's about done. So I'm throwing wood in, wrapping it up, probes in, and we're keeping it cooking. I brought you in here to give you away a little trick here. I'm using this aluminum foil because it's going to hold all my moisture in there, and I'm purposely trying to create some steam, which is why we got this moisture in here so we can get this thing done, get it nice and tender. With that said, we've done a great job getting a good color, and I really don't want to lose all my little bark. So if you notice, I purposely tinted this thing up nice and high, because if that foil touches down on there and it starts to steam, you'll notice that you'll have that pale spot directly where that foil is touching. So I'm going to leave it all domed up so it's got that little old oven bubble over the top of it. And then other than that, I went ahead and poked my thermometer through just to make sure I get it in my right spot, and then that way I can finish it up. So there's that. This baby's in. Wrapped. That baby's ready to go. I'm up to 170 degrees now. I'm gonna come check this thing out. My goal is to get it up to around, we are gonna have to reheat it tomorrow. I do want to have to pull it. At least want to get to 195. Probably not too much higher than 200 or it gets a little bit mushy. So I'm probably gonna go right in the middle, 197-ish. One thing I did notice, if you hear that sizzle, most of that water is gone. So you know what? I kind of like that. At least it won't be a ton that I got to drain out of here. I can get that last little bit out tomorrow. And at the end of the day, I think this will work out fine. 6 hours, 45 minutes later, this baby been pumping all day long. Holding steady, Freddy. And as you can see, I'm pulling in at 197. So that should be about solid for my pool. Like I said, at least 195. It'll be a little under that 200. And knowing that I got to come back tomorrow more or less for this cook, which ain't that far away at this point. But at the end of the day, leave a little moisture in there, so I ain't too worried. Let's get this baby up out of here. Ugh. Ugh. I'm about to open it up so you can take a peek and so I can somewhat start to break some of this steam up off of here so it don't just keep on cooking. Oh yeah. Beautiful color. Sorry about that. Have to get this up out of here. Pull that up off of there. Wow. Now, as you can see, my little tent worked out well. Didn't really touch too much of that bark. All those solid pieces still on there. That should be perfect. Let's pull this baby up out of here, sit it off in the oven and let it rest. Alright, this baby has had time to rest. I'm indoors now, so lighting might look a little different, but 6 hours, 45 minutes. Pretty much was able to roll for the most of that at 250. Once I got kind of wrapped up and got towards the back part and getting those ribs off, I kicked it up to probably more towards that 300 mark, but good looking color, smells phenomenal. Haven't tasted this baby yet, but I done gave it about 20 minutes or so to kind of rest. I'm gonna see if I get lucky, and there we go. You know we cooked this thing right. Pull that baby up out of there with one hand for you. Oh yeah, look, ooh, wee, look at that. There we go. Now, you can see the moisture. This is straight from the pullout. The pullout. And you can see that smoke ring in there. Man, it smells amazing. Man, that might not make it to the party. That might have to be a little taste tester for myself. Let me get just a little bit of that there. Just to see what we got going on here. Focus in. Oh yeah. Let me pull this. Alright, this baby has had time to rest. I'm indoors now, so lighting might look a little different, but 6 hours, 45 minutes. Pretty much was able to roll for the most of that at 250. Once I got kind of wrapped up and got towards the back part and getting those ribs off, I kicked it up to probably more towards that 300 mark, but good looking color, smells phenomenal. Haven't tasted this baby yet, but I done gave it about 20 minutes or so to kind of rest. I'm gonna see if I get lucky, and there we go. You know we cooked this thing right. Pull that baby up out of there with one hand for you. Oh yeah, look, ooh, wee, look at that. There we go. Now, you can see the moisture. This is straight from the pullout. The pullout. And you can see that smoke ring in there. Man, it smells amazing. Man, that might not make it to the party. That might have to be a little taste tester for myself. Let me get just a little bit of that there. Just to see what we got going on here. Focus in. Oh yeah. Let me pull this. All right, we back for some more one-handed action over here. I got this as a rough chop or like a pull. I didn't want to like overly pull this down to super thin. I still got to make it through the rest of the night into the morning, and then I don't want this to be overly dried out. So we still got some nice thick pieces, as you can see, but I mean, you can see the moisture on there. I ain't hit this with nothing extra. Basically, as you're going through and you pulling on this, you know, you got your gloves on or whatever, you can feel that fat if it's on there, and you just want to go ahead and pull some of that off. Pull out, like, you know, your main tubes or your main big chunks of meat. Like this was in a much bigger chunk, something more like this, or kind of like this was one. And then once you get one of them, you can go ahead and just start breaking them right on a piece apart. Sorry, and that'll give you your little bit of breakdown. Keep in mind, if you want yours super mushy like you see in a lot of the videos and stuff like that, you can add you a whole lot more moisture in the bottom. If you notice that usually those people have put it in a pan, sitting directly in a pan, directly touching the liquid with a ton of liquid. And of course, once you get done, it's still sitting in all this liquid. It's basically been bubbling and steaming and boiling. Once you break it down, it's gonna be like water. It's just gonna squish right into whatever you want. I personally don't like mine quite that done. I think that's a little overdone for me. This is more than tender enough. You can see how easily I can just pull this apart with one hand. That's more than tender for me, but it can still hold together. It can still be like some nice big chunks on the sandwich or something like that. But that's what we talk about. Check out that bark. We'll break that piece in there. And of course, I've tasted it. Famous Dave's comes through yet again. Great rub, great flavor, great taste. So since that's all good now, I'm gonna pretty much wrap that up, double foil it, and what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna sauce my pork. Obviously, this could be the step where you add you some barbecue sauce into this mix. I've tasted it; it doesn't taste too bad. Otherwise, this is where you want to hit you, and now that you got it broke up, hit a little seasoning in there and mix it up, which I probably will just to warm it up a little bit. But I'm gonna do that when we actually get ready to serve it. So I'll take that with me tomorrow. I'm gonna discard that old bone, and that juice I'm gonna throw in a cup, and I want to keep it separate. And what I want to do is once I warm this up tomorrow, I'm gonna add that little bit of juice back into this pulled pork just to kind of give it some more moisture, give it that last bit of flavor along with a little bit of that seasoning. It's gonna pop. Overall, I can't be mad. Let's bring you to the table. We're gonna talk about everything that I was able to find. We'll break down this cook, and we'll talk a little bit about using water in the bottom of this LSG. All right, we got that thing done. That cook was smooth and easy. With that said, man, it's hot as hell out here. It's party day. You see I got everything lined up. Let's do a quick overview of the whole cook. 6.5 hours on this pork is pretty much what it took before that was done. Came out great. Great smoke flavor on there. Overall, it was definitely juicy, maybe a little bit juicier than what I normally get, but at the same time, I did wrap this time versus leaving it on the rack the whole time. That also makes a difference. With the ribs, even though I was cooking more towards the whole time they were in there, about 250, even dropped down to around 225, which is a great range. They still only took 3.5 hours. I feel like over that water, some of that steaming effect came up. I was noticing that we did get that little bit of white spot on there where it was almost like, it reminds me of when you cooking like salmon and the white stuff that comes out, but probably that was like some steaming action coming. But overall, they cooked up nice. They were also super tender. They also were pretty good as far as their bark flavor, everything else. I enjoyed them. Issues, as you saw, and I'm kind of glad it happened, just because you got to leave it in there so you can learn something from it, which was me overfilling my water tank. Right, don't take that much water in there at the end of the day, but woo, it is hot. But at the end of the day, that's something to just keep in mind. Get that water in there. Make sure that you don't go past that inner lip. Otherwise, that's gonna go into your firebox. At the end of the day, it wasn't that big a deal. Dried out that small spot to where it was dry or getting all wet in the firebox. Fired that thing up. It dried up in a second. I was surprised that by the end of the cook, because I was thinking about having to get all of that water out, making sure it's not gonna rust, so on and so forth. I pretty much burnt through all my water. Keep that in mind. I am in Arizona. It is 100 right now and plus, which is why I'm dripping wet with sweat. So once you put that heat in there, it was nothing for that thing to go ahead and dry out the most of that water. I was surprised though. The first thing that I noticed was using that actual water in the cooker, I was able to keep my temps much lower than I normally am, or than I normally can. You can always get a smooth and easy cook as far as being able to kind of set it and almost forget it. So that was pretty consistent. I know the water overall helps stabilize the temperature in your pit and make it more even. So maybe it might have been more even from one level to the next, and I haven't tried that. Maybe that'd be something else I'll try in another cook. But overall, the main thing I noticed was it was able to actually dampen my temperatures. Obviously, it put more steam and moisture into the chamber, which was a good thing, and I liked it. Being that I'm out here in AZ, normally, as soon as I start that fire, that thing gets up to 300 degrees so high and so quick. I've learned how to be able to dial that back, but you got to be careful because as soon as you lose that coal bed and you're putting wood in there, usually that's where you get a lot of that smoldering and that bad smoke. So you usually want to keep it going, but when it's already 115 out and then you put a fire in there and you're steadily putting coals in, it don't take long to basically take you to Dante's Inferno in there. So I definitely like being able to add that water in and being able to actually get down to that 250, which is what I like to be able to cook in when I'm going with my low and slow. And then even being able to play at 225. So that was cool. Questions that I had when I was doing this whole thing, and I was curious, how would it work out? What would it look like? One thing I was worrying was, if I put it in this water, is it gonna knock down my smoke level? Will I not be able to get that normal smoke flavor that I normally get off my LSG on my meat? I feel like overall, it was maybe a smoother smoke, but still had good smoke. I think you saw the ribs, even though I tried to make sure I didn't eat too many of these, because again, this is for a party. They came out great. They had the smoke ring. They were smooth and easy. They definitely were probably, especially for being on the rack the whole time, I think they had a little bit more juiciness than normal when I'm not having the water in there, which makes sense. The other thing I was curious about was, will I still be able to create a good bark even though I got that water in there? At the end of the day, I think you saw that too. I was able to get a great bark on the ribs. And then with that said, I got a great bark on my pulled pork, even though I still wrapped it. But I mean, it was still able to lock in there and stay, even though it still had that steam and that water in the chamber. One of the other things I was kind of curious about was just in general, would it bring down the cooking temps? What would that look like? Like I just said, did wonders for that. That was probably the biggest overall thing that I liked. And one thing that I did notice, and it's really slightly, because truthfully I was about on my normal, which is normally I'm putting in about a split every 45 minutes to an hour. That was maybe just a slight bit increased, only if I'm trying to get to those higher temperatures. So if I was trying to do maybe a higher temperature cook, maybe I might not put the water in there, right? Because it'd be a lot easier for me to just get up to the high temperature and not be just feeding it with wood the whole time. Compared to if I'm keeping it low and slow, I don't want something to dry out that's going to be cooking a long time, like a brisket or pork butt, so on and so forth. Adding that water in there, I think, will do wonders on kind of helping that out. Overall, I definitely think that it definitely put more moisture in all of the meats. The ribs and the pork definitely had a lot of moisture already and was nice and juicy. And overall, I would say my impression, thumbs up. Like everything over there on the Lone Star, I literally kind of bought it because of the idea that I thought that it was kind of cool to be able to put the water in there, get that steaming effect, and so on and so forth. And now a year and a half later, it's the first time I'm actually putting water in the cooker and getting a chance to check it out. The one thing that I will say as far as like cleanup and maintenance, it seems like it won't be as bad as I thought it might be, but I'm sure there might be still a little bit of water that's in there. Probably most of that is kind of mixed in with fat and juices and stuff, so it might not really be a big deal, but that is something that I would keep an eye on for anybody else, making sure that you get that water out of there, and then also take the time, every once in a while, respray that thing back down with Pam, just so you don't get all that rusting and stuff inside of your chamber. But overall, a couple things that you want to take out of there. I think I see a drone. Somebody trying to check out the old Killer Miller Q show. But the one thing that I'll make sure that you know that I'm glad actually kind of almost happened, like I said, public service announcement, couple things. Normally, if you cook it in a competition or when you cooking for friends and family, never experiment, right? Stick to your tried and true processes so that you can get a good product. Of course, I'm gonna take some chances. I wasn't that scared about the water, but with that said, it did change things in my cook. I'm glad everything came out great because like I said, this is for somebody else and I wanna make sure they enjoy this as much as I usually do. But I am glad that you got to see that. I am glad too that I got that on camera about the meat, unfortunately. I almost was gonna wake up super early this morning to do this cook, but I'm glad I didn't because I would have ran into that problem and I would have been in trouble, which was always smell your meat. If it don't smell right, take that back, man. Don't even take no chances before you put in all that time and all that rub and all of that other good ingredients just to come out in the end that don't taste right. And that long, it ain't worth getting sick for and all the rest of that stuff. But now you've seen it. Water's been in the cooker. That was a great experiment. My pork came out great. I decided to take a second and make me some pickled onions as well. I did a video on this. I'll make sure I link that in there so you can check it out. Super easy. And then like I showed you, I kept my juice to the side. We're gonna warm all this up when we get to the party. I gotta go, but I appreciate y'all being here. Black Smoke Barbecue, all the fam. Catch y'all next week. Peace.